I played with Andrei Daescu. Daescu.
You have to say it like a vampire.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You're tuned in now to this pickleball life. I'm K-Dubs and Jilly B is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pile, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Theme song done, let's go, let's get laughing. This pickleball life.
And we're back from Hot Atlanta. It's your girl, Jilly B.
And your girl, K-Dubs.
And we have a loaded episode.
So what's the major theme, Jilly?
Well, how do the pros see the game? What do they have to do and say and think to bring out their very best?
And their worst.
We're going to take a look at some very funny behind-the-scenes moments and pro antics from the tour last weekend.
And we're going to talk about the ideal number of Major League Pickleball events.
And PPA events for 2024. We're going to take a look at USA Pickleball's role in the sport.
So, PB Lifers, let's get our divine pod number 9 on the line.
Very nice. I like the rhyme. Whoa, see what I did there?
You took my triple and you quadded it.
Haha, let's go. So, some funny behind-the-scenes images and stories from Hot Atlanta. Here we see Vivi and David warming up in Birkenstocks.
Wow. I mean, what says you're the most talented person in your family other than single-handedly playing in Birkenstocks against your sister and her partner?
In her 9-sibling family.
And she takes on 2 people at once.
Or is it 7 siblings? It's somewhere between 7 and 9.
Whatever. It's Birkenstocks.
We realized what is so darn attractive about Jay DeVilliers.
And we are lesbians. So if we think Jay DeVilliers is attractive, he is like factually, really, in fact, attractive.
His body is built like a Disney prince. Let's be real.
Well, to be honest, Jill has never watched a Disney movie. So
True.
If she thinks he looks like a Disney prince, then you know that the zeitgeist of Disney princes has arrived. And I would say to that, he looks exactly like Gaston, like the nice guy version of Gaston, who is obviously a French dude from Beauty and the Beast, but he is the doppelganger in life form.
Well, I have never seen Beauty and the Beast. I do not know who Gaston is, but I know Jay would be like a knight, but he wouldn't even need shields. He would just use his abs.
Just ripping his shirt off, bullets just flying off of his abs.
Pew, 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 pew. All right. Well, this is called a double standard because imagine 2 dudes on a podcast talking about how banging Jilly B's body is.
Jilly B really looks like Jasmine from Aladdin.
Okay, we're inappropriate. We get it.
Double standard. But really leaning into this aside, because they're my favorite parts of the pods, of all the pods. But it reminded me of the last time as an adult I watched Beauty and the Beast with your nieces like 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. And there's this lyric in the Gaston song where they go, "No one hits like Gaston, batches wits like Gaston. In a spitting match, nobody spits like Gaston. I'm especially good at expectorating." And I was like, man, I did not realize that Disney had taught me the word expectorating at age 7.
Not Mucinex?
Instead of Mucinex at age 16. Expectorating. Sounds so proper for what it is.
Very good, K-Dubs. All right, one little more insider funny tidbit from the event over the weekend. So the parking lot got a bit backed up, which meant that we got to see some pros sprinting to their matches. And I'm talking like a 30 to 40 minute backup on a one-way entrance into the Lifetime Peachtree Corner location.
It's super ironic because their parking lot was actually huge. It's just
huge.
A one-way entrance. It was literally a fire hazard. And so we're sitting there. I'm like, I don't know how long this is going to last. Maybe you should get out. And right as Jill goes to get out of the car, someone
sprinting,
hurtling down the hill.
Down the hill is Jake Kuzmiter. You know, we love Jake. Sprinting to his semifinal match against Connor Garnett. And yeah, what time was this?
It was 8:43.
For a 9 o'clock match?
We're going to go ahead and say maybe that was worth 2 or 3 points. That may have been critical, but he did look good on the court.
He looked great on the court. He chugged a beer after his match. He vomited on the court. And what I love so much about this is in a major tennis event, would you see a player, especially after a loss, chug a beer and proceed to vomit on court? No way. And I love it.
It's not even the first time we've heard of a puke in the bushes situation at a pickleball tournament. But you just have to lean into keeping pickleball crazy, keep pickleball weird.
Keep pickleball weird. That should go on a shirt.
Totally.
And expectorating.
And expectorating. We might actually lean into the spitting. I mean, you are kind of an expert expectorator.
I am. This harkens back to actually when I got called into the director of tennis's office when I was a member at Olympic Club living in Northern California for my habit of spitting on the court. I was like, damn, I thought I was doing that kind of in secret. I'd always clean it up with my shoe. Hey, there's like trees and pollen in NorCal. I had some allergies going on, and you're like sweating on a tennis court. Stuff is going to expectorate up and out of you. I'm just saying.
Expect expectoration.
Expect my expectoration. At least I did not vomit.
That's true. Yes. In fact, you have like a Jilly B rap sheet.
Totally.
Expert expectorator.
Oh my gosh, we should come up with what that rap sheet would look like.
What else is on that rap sheet? Yeah.
All right, enough fun stuff from the weekend. Let's talk about what these pros need to do to bring out the best and what we've seen the worst of themselves. So we talk a lot about these winning mindsets. It sounds so simple, but to win, you need a winning mindset. I love that Billie Jean King quote, losers are afraid of winning. Winners are afraid of losing. And I think about Alex Newman, a fantastic singles and doubles player. He's probably had better results in singles. I watched him play a singles match, and he was like a strutting peacock.
Totally.
On the court. I'm sure
the visor helps.
The visor really helps, and the flowing long hair really helps.
Totally.
And he's just this confidence-filled man. And after he walked off the court, I said jokingly, you know what you lack, Alex? Self-confidence. And he said to me, Jill, when I'm on the court, no one's better than me. I'm not going to lose a single point. I'm shocked when I lose a point. I think I'm the best on the court. Not off the court, but when I'm on the court, if I don't have that winning mindset, I can't win a point.
Yeah. It all comes back to that delusional positivity. You have to get yourself there.
I love that. Megan Dazan, a female pro player who just recently won MLP on the Seattle Pioneers.
Daytona Beach.
Then right after that, she won women's doubles in St. George. She was asked like, hey, after last year, kind of a year of mediocre mixed results, how have you just like been so successful this year? And she said, I realized that I had gotten okay with losing and that wasn't okay anymore.
Yeah.
That winning mindset matters.
Totally. They say your magic comes outside the comfort zone, and sometimes we accidentally find ourselves getting comfortable with 3rd, 4th, 6th place, and you just have to envision it and believe in it.
Yep.
I always tell my students in golf, if you really think about it, as ironic as this analogy is, what is a con man? Con is not some word that means swindler.
Connive or
right.
conniving.
That's what people think, but con stands for confidence man. A person who is so good at making you confident in them that you overcome your instinctual self-doubt that this deal is too good to be true. And you have to be on the court going, I never miss this shot. I have the best forehand in the world, Jake Kusmetter.
Yeah.
I am always going to hit that perfect drive over the net that passes them. I'm always going to nail that shot. I'm always going to hit a good shot out of the bunker.
That's interesting you bring up Jake Kusmetter again. He was on camera hitting a forehand winner, and then he screamed, I have the best forehand in the world, ... in pickleball. And I love Jake. I think Jake's actually a pretty humble guy. But again, why is he doing that? Why is he saying that? He's pumping himself up.
Con.
Yes. And again, with a double standard, imagine if a girl, I actually want to do that. I want to rip my backhand.
Do an actual, like, what do they call that? Like a person, like a test of humanity.
Totally. I want to emulate all these, like, I have this idea for a video emulating all these things like pro men have done that are pretty outrageous. and like doing it myself on the live stream and seeing if anyone notices like that I'm basically doing a bit and do it over the course of 3 months and put it all together and be like, here's every time I did this. And then like the audience was silent, or like I got roasted on social media for talking about how great my own backhand is. But yeah, there's definitely a double standard at play. Again, love Jake and love that he did that, and think we need to keep the sport as irreverent as possible.
I think we're at a critical turning point in society where women are trying on new shoes, and the more I think women do these things, the more people will get used to it. You know, it used to be that women were out there vacuuming in a dress, so I think progress.
Now we're playing pickleball in a dress. Hashtag progress. There are other things pros I've noticed need to do to win other than a winning mindset, and that is trash talk. So I saw this countless times this weekend, both personally experienced on court against players and watched. So in watching Riley and Paris play against Tyson McGuffin and Catherine Parenteau in the semifinals, in Riley's post-round interview, he attributed his team's come-from-behind victory to one thing: trash talk. He said, and I quote, "I come from basketball and I need to trash talk just a little bit to play better." So I started talking more, and it's nothing against Catherine and Tyson. It's how I play better.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me during MLP, like I definitely felt like I played better getting fiery, being fired up. I think there's a really fine line here that we're all dancing. And I think another person that's like this is probably Matt Wright. You know, I think I rent so much space in that guy's head. He just hates me.
Yeah, he's such a weird attitude with you specifically.
I don't think he's used to women, women standing up for themselves at all.
He is a something all the time, but there's something special.
He wouldn't shake my hand after our match. I thought it was so childish that I actually said to him, "What is your issue with me?" And again, like, I just don't think he's used to women like calling him out, standing up for themselves, acting like he does, like giving him back what he puts out. His exact words were, "I didn't like the call you gave me in the first game of the match." And I was like,
"Oh my God."
And I was like, "You mean the call Andrei made?"
So
that
funny.
I barely saw,
right.
that because I swung for the ball. I thought it was going in. I swung for it, didn't have time to glance back. Andrei calls it out. We have 2 referees on the court. I requested 2 referees because I'm so sick of his shenanigans. Both referees either agreed or did not have enough evidence to overturn.
Yeah.
And then so after I explained that to Matt, he goes, "Well, I didn't like that you supported it." And I was like,
so weird.
What? Like, this logic isn't even making sense. So he backs up again and goes, "I didn't like the call you gave me 3 weeks ago in Newport Beach at the OGO Newport Beach." I'm like,
he's still
again, a call that was backed up by a referee, backed up at the time by my partner, and 7 people who saw it, and it was on video. Like, you're not shaking my hand because of that. So I just feel like for an attorney, his logic is pretty awful.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is interesting the way sometimes people will like double down on their
illogic.
Like, bad, logic for sure. But hey, I mean, I guess we're just all out there doing what we have to. And if he thinks that's what he has to do to
beat
play, it's so funny, especially considering he did win. It's like, get over it, buddy. Shake a hand.
Shake hands. Speaking of what some players need to do to bring out their best and their worst and win a match, here's a photo of my 3rd match of the day in women's doubles against Irina Tereshchenko and Etta Wright, where Irina is wearing a neon yellow shirt. And
for those who decide.
For those who do not know, USA Pickleball put out a rule about a year ago that said you can't wear apparel the color of the ball.
Chartreuse, in case you're wondering. I learned that last year.
And remember when the rule
came
out, what you said?
Yeah, how are they going to enforce this? Like, do they hand out one of those like paint chart codes for all of the refs so they can compare and contrast shirt colors? Like, where do you draw the line? Is this Big Bird yellow, or is this highlighter yellow, or like, does it matter which ball you're playing? Like, I played in a Think Pink Rally for the Cure, Susan G. Komen thing where we were playing with a pink ball and everyone was wearing pink. And here the ref goes, I think it's green, not yellow.
Okay, so I say to the ref, I'm like, this is absurd. And I say in front of Irina, we all need to play by the same rules. She's wearing a neon yellow shirt. And he goes, well, this is up to the discretion of the tournament director. So Don Stanley comes down and he consults with the 2 other refs on the court, and they come back and they say, we've determined it's neon green.
Oh my God. So funny.
Either way, if this is what you have to do to win a match,
This is the
I
real
feel
difference
really
between
bad.
playing the pro colored Dura and playing the ball I
amateur
play
colored
every
Dura,
day.
yeah.
Oh my
Either
God.
way, I don't think it affected me too much. I won every single hands battle against her.
Yeah.
But again, hey, if that's what you got to do to win a match, sorry.
So fucking funny.
So speaking of the yellow, I played with Andrei Daescu.
You have to say it like a vampire.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yes, he's from Romania.
And I'm so impressed with Andrei, and I want to talk about. I think he's probably the best male partner I've ever had. Whether that's because we gelled together, our game styles matched up really nicely, or he's just that talented. We can wax poetic on that. But he also had a yellow paddle, a master paddle, which looked so cool, and he's had incredible results with it. I played against James Ignatowicz, and he has a gold and white paddle, and I'm just like, you know, it's hard to see the ball come off that paddle. And when I was in a hands battle with Andrei warming up, I kept missing like a little too soon. And yeah, he's better hands than me, and he's faster than me and stronger than me. But I was still like losing the battle too soon. And then I realized it was the yellow paddle face. And I said that to him. He's like, yeah, you know, some people say they have trouble seeing it. Some people don't. And when I really focused on the ball, I could then see it, but I couldn't figure out like what was happening. Once I realized what was happening, I could like tell my mind, really watch the ball, and I was able to overcome it. But regardless, I just think, what is USA Pickleball's like role in the sport? They say to grow the game. Well, really fundamentally, it's also to develop very clear rules to follow. And again, we joke about, okay, they say you can't wear anything the color of the ball. Like, is there
Paddle not exempt?
Yeah, is the paddle exempt? Is there like a color code? Like in all seriousness, like a list of color codes, and we're bringing out like the Home Depot, you know, cardboard piece of whatever that shows the colors that are exempt and not.
Pantone charts are out.
Pantone chart. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I just think it's a really interesting time in the sport. I'd love to feel like we've got clear rules and regulations around this stuff. But speaking of some super positives about Andrei, I was so incredibly impressed. And you're gonna think you'd think I'd say his power, because he's this really tall guy, thin, really thin, by the way, like rail thin.
Yeah.
And really strong and hits the heck out of it. But his touch was out of this universe. And I think people don't see how often he hits his third shot as a drop, not a drive.
I noticed that a lot.
And how precise it is. So I can count on one hand in 5 matches how many third shots he missed. One hand. So that's one a match. I can also count on one hand how many times he drove the ball. He just takes that slice drop, puts it right into the forehand, the deuce, the right side corner of where the girl is usually standing, and comes in. It is like
there, 2 steps.
A thing of absolute beauty.
Yeah. Perfection in motion. Yeah. Do you think height helps third shot drops?
Oh, yeah, because he's
Like
tall and he's
wingspan?
slicing it. I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah. Imagine like a human being standing on a ping pong table or something, like boop.
It's inspired me to want to cut my drops more. Because
topspin.
Well, I've noticed when I topspin them, my weight goes like up and back. And when I cut them, I get more of that like Andrei Daescu, Federico Staksrud, like Mary Brascia, like forward movement.
And then when the ball lands, is it also keeping the ball lower?
Yeah, for sure. Everything's staying lower. And so that's really inspired me to want to try that more in my game. And the other thing about Andrei, and this was a huge theme of the event for me, was good decision making. So when he speeds up a ball, it is so slow. Like go and watch this. Like when he takes a backhand flick out of the air and hits the girl in front of him, that ball is moving so slow for 2 reasons. One, it gives him time to get the paddle back, to then put the next one away. 2, everyone's expecting the ball so fast now that a lot of times people will swing too early at a slow ball. And 3, it allows you, when you're swinging that slow and the ball's moving that slow, to place it perfectly. So what I took away from Andrei was his precision is impeccable.
Yeah, and just everything is strategic in a way that he's not thinking in just his lizard brain. Like he is hitting it where he meant to, when he meant to. He doesn't have that like red light. I'm just gonna drive and win this point on sheer force.
Yeah, and he has that.
Really cool.
And I always come back to, just because you have every shot, Ben Johns has every shot, doesn't mean you use every shot. Like my huge takeaway from this week is good decision making. So if you look at Anna Bright and Anna Leigh Waters' post-final gold medal match interview, Anna Bright says, every pro can hit 99 out of 100 dinks in the kitchen. Everyone has a third shot drop. It's about patience, shot selection, and good decision making. This notion of making good decisions is by far and away my biggest takeaway from the weekend. Like, I'm outperforming my seed every single tournament, but I'm not winning big, tight matches. We had James Ignatowicz and Anna Bright tied at 12 all in a game to 15. We lost 15-12. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, you perform 15% better or 15% worse under pressure. I've always been someone who performs better under pressure, and I'm losing all of these, like, leads. I'm losing these tight matches. And it's like haunting me, and I need to figure out what it is. And I think what it is it's that good decision making, and it's patience. Like, I'm probably doing what I coach my amateur students not to do, which is when you play someone you think is a strong team, you don't need to perform outside of yourself.
Yeah,
don't go into your bag of tricks and pull out the 1% shot that works every now and then. Have faith that what got you here is going to get you there.
And in that James and Anna match, you guys started like down 6-1. So my question is, did you make an adjustment down 6-1 that got you to 12-12, and then they readjusted to something that was working, that stopped working, or did you change what you were doing?
I think that making sure you show up when it counts isn't about increasing your ceiling. It's not about reaching outside of yourself. It's actually about increasing your floor.
Yeah.
And just being like very calm and very patient in those tight points. I think that's my takeaway. It never felt to me like the strategy at 12 all changed between us. Like, that's not what it felt like to me. It felt like
mistakes that you normally weren't making.
We made a few more mistakes than we had the previous 8 points.
Yeah, there definitely were a few balls that ended up in the net.
Yeah, there's this inherent feeling of maybe you have to press to close.
Right.
So a lot of takeaways. I mean, I'm definitely feeling, frankly, like frustrated. Like, I've been back for 90 days. I've played 5 tournaments. Like, I'm sitting here frustrated. I haven't medaled. And I know that's ridiculous. Like, I know that's ridiculous. And I know I'm getting better every weekend, but it's hard not to feel so, like, driven by the result and wanting the result.
Totally. It's both. I told Jill after the matches, like, the fact that you were there at 12-12, which is essentially like a new game, 0-0, like, let's go, says that you put yourself in a position where you do belong with the best players in the world. And all you can do is keep learning and growing. And sometimes you don't learn as much from the victories. They don't expose the things where you have room to continue to get better and better.
I hate taking my own advice. Like, I always say, you never lose, you learn. Fuck that.
Is that going in a clip this week?
F you, Jilly B.
Screw you and your positivity.
Take that positivity. I'll show you where to shove it.
Well, we're going to circle back on that a little bit in one of our Jilly B questions. So I'm excited what you have to add.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm happy to preach all day, just if I have to take my own medicine.
Let's take a quick break.
This Pickleball Life is brought to you by pbgods.com, your home for pickleball gifts, shirts, and accessories. Nothing is sweeter than the smell of Victory candle, and right now you can get a free mug with the purchase of 3. So whether you're styling in your pickleball trucker hat or warming up your dinks in our terry cloth hoodies, you can't go wrong. Grab 10% off with code PBLifers today.
So, are you ready to talk about MLP, which every week we say it's coming up. It's coming up. It is truly coming up in June.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of talk from the pros, like how many Major League Pickleball events are there going to be next year, which is the team-based events versus the traditional tour PPA professional events. And it's a super interesting conversation we've talked a lot about on this podcast before, this notion of a bifurcation of viewership interest being really unprecedented in sports between team viewership and individual based viewership. So you have tennis, which is primarily individual, and the viewership is primarily individual, and the events are 90% individual. And then you've got like Laver Cup and Fed Cup and Davis Cup, and just, sporadically you have these team events. Same thing with golf and Ryder Cup. But is pickleball one of the very first sports that could have like equal or equivalent number of team-based events as individual events? And would it be the first ever sport? I don't think there's a precedent where it's 50-50. I think that is so interesting, and leave it to pickleball to be like, you know what? We're coming in late in the game, and we're going to take the best aspects of all sports, put it all together, and create pickleball.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? I mean, it's one of those things, I think, if you kind of look at golf versus tennis, one of the greatest things tennis ever did was combine men and women in the same place. And golf, the LPGA tried to do their own thing, and it's been kind of the detriment of their TV coverage, which means money. Here we go. Okay, pickleball. So let's take that women and men in the same place. They take the most exciting events of the year are, for a lot of sports, Olympics, or for golf, it's Ryder Cup. And now you've got it all in one big lump. MLP.
Exactly. And with Major League Pickleball, I think the players definitely feel treated really great at MLP. You've got on-site doctors, on-site physios. You've got all the recovery devices on-site. You've got excellent catering. You've got more money per event, more exposure with these celebrity team owners. Now, I think that it's on MLP to increase their broadcast viewership and do a really good and attractive broadcast deal, because right now the PPA is crushing that. And you've got really great opportunities with MLP for up-and-coming players with the exposure on the Challenger League. You get simple stuff like dedicated practice courts. So I think it's a really interesting conversation where, again, could pickleball next year have 12 Major League Pickleball events and 12 PPA individual tour events? Will one day the sport look like, no, it's like the NBA or Major League Baseball, and it's home and away games and teams, and then you've got friendlies, and maybe you just have like 4 individual majors? Like, is that something that it could look like?
Like just the finals are like everyone in the same place, but the rest of the year it's just like one weekend here, one weekend there.
Could it look like kind of what it looks like right now, where there's 25 or 30 PPA tour stops, but Sunday isn't Championship Sunday.
Right.
Sunday is your team event? I think that's the most logical to me. And then you've got this narrative all year long of the team events happening week in and week out. And it's not like, oh, we're sitting here 6 weeks, 8 weeks waiting for another MLP. It's tied into what's happening on the tour week in and week out. And
I wonder what the costs would change if they started the pros earlier in the week, split them all into 2-day events, but they still all finished on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, it would be such sharing economics. It would decrease costs for both businesses, which are, Vibe did merge with MLP. So you've got all those sunk startup or setup costs from the PPA event. Well, you just flip the sponsorship signage and do a little bit of cosmetic makeover on Sunday, and all of a sudden you have Major League Pickleball. There's just so many economies of scale in that model that I think make a lot of sense, and I think could be really compelling, and it doesn't become this either or, it's just an and.
Yeah. Or, we come back to, are there too many singles events? How do we get more people to play singles where it's not such a wear and tear on your body? Would it be like every other week was either singles or MLP, or is there some creative version of that?
If MLP and PPA did that, it would actually put the nail in the coffin of the APP. Because think about the players who are playing on the APP, then they have to show up Sunday for MLP at PPA. So that might be a tactical, brilliant maneuver
And
on PPA and MLP's
interestingly, this week, both your partners are APP players. And what did they feel like the difference was?
Oh, it's
in
interesting.
All 3 tours.
I played with Megan Fudge, and I thought that we had some of like the best, most fun points not on the live stream courts. So we're kind of posting those on my social channels. You should check them out. They were really, really fun. And she is an absolutely incredible player. I think some of the best defensive hands in the game on either tour. She's a total wall, which is great for playing with someone like me who might have a tendency to want to speed up a ball or two and maybe hit a dink or two high. And
if it's over the net, you've got a chance.
And we had just an incredible time playing together. I wish she was playing more PPAs, but she's on the APP tour. And her big takeaway from this event was where are the dedicated practice courts? We have dedicated practice courts.
Which harkens back to how many of the people who are there to play as an amateur are really there because of the pros, or are they there because it's a well-run event and they know PPA means major? Are they there because the courts are great? Are they there playing just because, well, I was going to watch the pros, but if I'm watching the pros, I might as well play? It's really hard to know and hard to measure that accurately.
Yeah.
How long those two things should continue to exist together. But I did talk to a number of different people in both camps. People who are like, I just came to spectate and I love watching. I can play tournaments anytime. And people who are like, oh my God, absolutely. That's why I'm here. I want to play over there, pop over, watch some pros, go back and play my second match, come back and watch some pros, show up the next day, watch some pros that I'm not playing. Like, that's why I'm here. But
yeah. Well, look, every week the tour gets more professional. Every MLP gets better.
In the sense of being well run, not just in the sense of pro pickleball players.
No, yes. In the sense of the tour being more and more well run and more professional. And you've got big names coming to these events, potential non-endemic sponsors. The head of racket sports for Mizuno USA was there. You've got literally one of my favorite non-water drinks, Roar, is now the official hydration partner of the PPA. And so I think that it's in the PPA and MLP's best interest to treat their players really well, whether it's providing practice courts, medical attention, etc., because you want to present a very professional look to these big non-endemic sponsors.
No, totally. And I think just judging by the snacks alone, they've improved tons.
The snacks are so good.
Gummy bears, that's where it's at. That's what all the pros really want to eat. In case you're wondering that behind the scenes, the gummy bears are popular.
If you want to know what it's like in the pro player lounge, it is a lot of Welch's gummy bears, peanut butter snacks like the peanut butter Ritz,
the toasties,
bananas, apples,
power bars, well,
lots of bars,
protein bars.
Yeah, but really we are all, to be candid, just eating gummy bears and peanut butter toasties, and we're very happy with that. This is no knock on the PPA. This is our own doing.
This is for real.
This is for real. There's no joking here. But we've talked a lot about PPA and Major League Pickleball. We haven't talked a lot about USA Pickleball, and we've had a lot of requests like, what do you think, Jilly B, the role of USAP is in the sport? How are they doing if you were to give them a grade? Look, I think it's hard to be a governing body. I empathize with that. And I empathize how hard it is to be a governing body in a sport that is seeing, 40% year over year growth. I would say, though, that anytime you've got a board self-congratulating over 70,000 members and 30% growth from last year, well, you've got a TAM of 8 million.
What is a TAM?
Total addressable market. So what's the percentage of 70,000 USA Pickleball members?
It's like 0.01% or something,
on
right?
8 million. Hey, you could even say, well, there's 300,000 dedicated tournament players. Well, you've got 70,000 of 300. Let's not quite clap ourselves on the back for that. And if you think about what the role of a governing body is to provide rules, well, how have the rules been this year? They've been a cluster bleep. Look, I did a self bleep. You don't even have to go and edit it.
I don't have to go in. Yeah. I did a self use the calculator app, and guess what? It's 3.001. So if it's 0.008, that means percentage wise, it's literally
less than 1%.
Less than.
So if your role is rules, how's that going this year? Okay. And if your role is to grow the game, well, how are you measuring that and how is that going this year? I think what's hard with these governing bodies is when they start to get into like the event space, and it's penny wise, pound foolish. So they're chasing the immediate instant gratification of making money on events, diamond, regional, this, nationals. And they need to be focused on growing the game. If the only thing the governing body focused on for the rest of its existence was court creation, raising money to build a super PAC that went and lobbied Congress to unlock federal and local dollars to create courts, that would be the single biggest service and the single biggest impact that USA Pickleball could provide to grow the game. So if your mission is to grow the game, passing out paddles and nets is a Band-Aid on a bullet wound when we do not have courts.
Totally. And the truth is, I think paddle companies' roles probably should be that side of it, because that's just like self-promotion. Like hand out 25 Selkirk paddles to a middle school, and you've created 400 new like customers through their parents and their subsidiaries. So let USA Pickleball get the facility, so you're not sitting there waiting for 40 minutes every time you want to play
exactly. Like, you want to talk about growing the game. Look what Duper's done, provided a unified rating system that actually works, built collegiate and junior pathways so that kids can see a future for themselves in the sport. Think about, this is such a simple concept. Who wants to play a sport if you can't see the next level of where you're going? Like, that is the fundamental definition inherent in why we play sports.
No, it's amazing how many studies have been done on the way that people perceive that, like, what is good or what is great and their ability to achieve it compared to just working in a silo and being like, I don't know, I just hit shots and maybe they're good.
Yeah.
You need that example. You need that step. You need that kid to beat, that kid you think is good. And then one day you're better than them and you're like, wow, I must be good.
Yeah.
Totally. So hopefully all of the above. Obviously it's not bad that they're also passing out nets and paddles, but yeah, it's almost like creating a reverse floodgate.
Yep. And I think with that, we're ready to move on to always my fave, narcissistically segment of the pod, Dear Jilly B. And before we get into that, if you don't know, write us. We want to hear from you. You can submit questions for Dear Jilly B. You can submit requests for certain topics. It's thispblife@gmail.com, or you can drop it in the YouTube comments.
Yes,
Kristin,
please, in the subject line, type Dear Jilly B so we know exactly who to pay extra close attention to in our email inbox.
And you can always submit a question anonymously.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyone who wants to be anonymous for protective reasons, if they have a sensitive topic to discuss, which they happen in pickleball.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely appreciate it. Today's Dear Jilly B comes from Colleen.
Hey, Colleen. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl. Dear Jilly B, so during rec play, I've been playing my game and feeling super confident. It comes back to con. Okay, recently I played with a group of guys, dupers ranging from 3.75 to 4.20. I love that she went that specific with the duper. Like, she did research. Let's go.
I love that. Because it also is a huge difference between a 4.0 and a 4.25. 0.25 increments are a big difference.
I kept up and, in fact, won 8 out of 10 doubles. Then Saturday comes, 3.5 to 4.0 mixed doubles tournament, and I sucked. I'm a two-sport collegiate D2 athlete, many moons ago, but I know pressure and I love competition. I wasn't feeling nervous. But I just wasn't super confident and started playing tight. And as a result, I missed many shots and I was getting picked on, which I totally don't blame the other team for. But how do I get out of that mindset, reset myself, and pull my shit together?
I love
Quoting
this.
here.
I love this. Okay.
Good luck this weekend. Thank you, Colleen.
I love this, Colleen. So first off, I'm going to say there's, two types of pickleball: rec play pickleball and tournament pickleball, and one has absolutely nothing to do with the other. So the best advice I have for you is, if you go back and listen to the very first episode we ever did, I talk about the only way I can play good tournament pickleball is if I'm relaxed, laughing, having fun, forcing myself to smile. We talk a lot about how our physical actions have a direct effect on our emotional and mental state, and the endorphins and the serotonin that even something as stupid as a fake smile can release within yourself.
Act your way into feeling better. Don't feel your way into acting better.
I'm going to give you a perfect example. In my women's doubles match with Megan Fudge, in one of the matches, I said to her, I'm really not looking forward to playing this match because I've got beef with the team. You know, I've got a personal beef with one of the opponents, and you've seen me fun and carefree all tournament, but you're going to see like a different side of me. You're going to see like a more intense Jilly B. And she looked at me and went, hey, you're playing with me. You're going to have fun. You're going to laugh and you're going to smile. So don't equate this to other times you've played these teams with other partners. Like, I'm your partner. You're going to laugh and have fun. And she was right. And I smiled.
Yeah.
And I forgot, like, you play your best when you have that smile on your face. At least for me. And you know what, Colleen? I've yet to see that not work for someone. I have yet to have someone say, Jill, I tried your strategy of not being hard on myself, of smiling, of supporting my partner, and it didn't work for me. Hey, if you take that advice and it doesn't work for you, I want to know. Like, tell me, email us.
Absolutely.
And that would be my single biggest piece of advice for you. And my other would be a lot of stuff we talked about already on this podcast, which is it's not about raising your ceiling, it's about raising your floor. Don't feel like you've got to be something other than yourself, to go outside of yourself. It brings me back to the most life-changing piece of golf advice you ever gave me, Kristin, in one of our very first lessons. Do you remember what that was?
That you just needed to be a 7 out of 10. That we don't ever need. Like 10 out of 10s are just happy accidents. All you need is to know, 7 out of 10, fine.
Yeah.
If it ends up close to the pin, great.
Yeah. So
Just
you have
normal.
Yeah.
My normal is good enough.
My normal is good enough. So ask yourself, Colleen, are you going into these tournaments feeling like your normal's not good enough? Because it is.
And I think
it is.
I think this harkens to another topic we've talked about outside of the pod, which is that she's playing better with tougher competition. And then she goes into this tournament where she knows like most of the players are not as good as her because she can hang with these 4.25s, and she ends up playing worse. And I think that is an equally important but slightly
racket
different
sports
mentality.
are hard. Racket sports are hard because you'll play worse playing down. It's the simple truth. It's hard.
Yeah.
And my biggest piece of advice for that when you're playing down is sometimes you have to beat them at their own game. So if they want to be erratic and bang balls, you have to bang them back.
Or let them go better.
Or let them
At
go
that
out.
3-5-4 level, I see a lot of people hitting out balls just because they're green.
Yep. And so, at that level too, maybe it's only 3 dinks. And on the, the 4th shot, they're pulling the trigger. Well, you just sit there with your paddle upright, counter in their face. Mm-hmm. So if it's specifically around, if the question is specifically around, you're playing fine in tournaments unless you're playing lower rated lower rated opponents, then I think the simple truth is you've got to be ready for that like wild play.
Yeah. Jungle ball.
And beat them at their own game, jungle ball.
Yeah.
What would you say,
No, I think it's
Kristin?
both, because I think she's saying that like she was playing tight because she's in a tournament.
Yeah,
so
and
there's that difference
I'm focusing
between
on the
rec play
tightness.
and the tournament. But then also rec play, she's seeing better opponents, which maybe the simplest answer right here, Colleen, is sign up for a bracket above you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer. Is just go play better players in tournaments. Because
I'm
that'll
also-
change your expectations
But
too.
I'm also a believer in don't level up till you're winning gold in your current bracket. Like, go beat all of them.
or at least meddling.
at least
consistently.
meddling. Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think, unfortunately, it's the reverse. I wish people would win gold and be like, okay, I graduated. But instead, they're like, yay, let's go win more gold at this
funny.
bracket that I don't belong in.
We
So
have
anyway,
another
thanks for the
question,
question,
from,
Colleen.
yeah, thank you, Colleen. We have another question from Rob M. in Mesa.
A Mesa, a place many pickleballers are familiar, home of the first MLP this year. Dear Jilly B, I think everyone looks at line calls made by the players as a responsibility that shouldn't be on their shoulders, especially due to the fast pace of the game. Some players are generous while others make outright bad calls. Do you think the players should be making the out calls, or should there be line judges / equipment making these calls? Is there anything in the works to improve the accuracy of the line calls? It's hard enough seeing a ball that gets ripped down the sideline and making the right call, but let alone when there's money and points at stake, things can get a bit spicy.
On my center court match against Eric Lane and Judith Castillo, I hit a forehand ATP, which I was really excited about, and it landed well within the court, and Eric Lane called it out.
Which, if you don't know, Jill loves backhand ATPs more than forehand ATPs. That's why she was so excited.
Yeah, I was very excited because forehand ATP is elusive, at least for me. I'm getting better at it. And do I blame Eric? Do I think he's some like bad, evil guy, and how could he? No, the ball's moving 50 miles an hour. It's hard to see. You're craning your neck. You're turning around really fast. Angles matter. Right away, the ref said it was in. His partner said it was in. And he put his hand up and it was all good.
Yeah.
Do we not shake hands after the match? Of course not. Should the onus of line calls be on the players? No. We're humans. We make mistakes. So you see honestly, you see these two camps of players developing on the pro tour. The players who are literally not calling balls out. And this happened to me in my last match again on center court with Jake Kuzmiter against Jack Sock and Annalie Waters, where I didn't call a sideline ball out. Mm-hmm. It's really hard for me to see when I'm standing right over it. And Jake, my partner, said out. He said it too late. We lost the point. The ball was out.
Right.
And so I just think the onus of the calls should not and cannot lie on the players. There's a lot of rules in pickleball that are so strange where the onus is on the player. It's on you to serve within a certain amount of time when the score is called. And if your opponents aren't back from their timeout, you're put in a position where you have to decide whether to serve and you get a free point while your opponents sit on the sideline, right? And that happened to me once, both ways. Or you have to get the penalty and lose your serve because you didn't serve in time.
Weird.
Why is the onus on the player to make that decision?
And the timing of it, because sometimes you're in the midst of the ball's landing, I'm committed, I want to finish my motion while my brain is processing, what did I just see? Was that on the line? Was that out? Was it barely out? Am I a jerk for calling this out? And even I hit a shot in the minor league pickleball event 2 weeks ago where I hit it down the line and it was half an inch out, but I knew I hit it out. I saw it out, but my opponent didn't see it at all and was like, I don't know. So I guess it was in. And I was like, no. I hit it out. I'm not taking that point. Here's the ball.
If you look at tennis right now, they've got all automated line calls now. I don't know how good those are, but it's definitely quelled the players.
Totally.
There's no fighting. There's no yelling at the ref. There's no anger with the judges.
Is that because of hefty fines or the line call system? We'll never know. Ask John McEnroe.
So yes, I'd have to assume there's at least some challenge technology that will be hopefully equipped on more than just 2 courts, Rob. And I have to believe that if this technology exists on tennis courts right now, to have all automated line calls, that in fact that will happen for pickleball within 12 months, especially now that we have gambling entering the sport sooner rather than later. You just can't afford that. Or in the meantime, until the tech is out, put more refs on the court.
Seriously.
Is this a dumb question? Why does the ref not sit up?
What do they call that thing where it's influence bias, self-bias? You want it to be out. It's on your side. You don't want to call them in, theoretically.
It's a conflict of interest.
Your brain is wanting what it wants.
I mean, imagine a bunch of
It's a conflict of interest.
Imagine a bunch of NBA players calling their own fouls. I mean, that's the funniest thing ever. Yeah. And then you put racket sport players in positions to call their own balls. It's just, and in pickleball to apparently call, be in the middle of other rules. Like I said,
Totally.
you have to serve within a certain amount of time.
Totally. And of course, people lump tennis and golf together, kind of both country club sports. But golf, you have all the time in the world to look. Is this out of bounds? Well, let's all stand behind a stake and have a look at once at a ball at rest. In tennis and pickleball and racket sports, it's just flying and it's gone. And there's no rewind in your mind. You can't just see where that ball landed. Not to mention the whole, ball doesn't compress pickleball thing people say, where it's not smushing onto the line. So it's easier to be out in a pickleball situation than in a tennis ball situation, apparently. according to science.
Yep.
And lore. But yeah, really, really good question, Rob. And I think hopefully we will all have the answer. But who do you think has the best line calls?
I think we talked about this. J.W. Johnson is probably very generous with his calls and still manages to win every single thing he touches.
I see 3 balls a match that he plays that are clearly out on TV. I don't know if he has that in his head that he's just going to be that guy, or he just like I said, you're committed in the moment, you hit the ball and you move on.
Another reason, the players really aren't trying for the most part to give bad calls, I'll say for the most part, is because you'll see challenges on center court, and you have to think as a player, the last thing you want is to be overruled on center court with a challenge, yet you see a challenge every game. Was there any match that didn't have a challenge?
That's a good
overrule
stat we should look into. Yeah,
I would guarantee you there was no match that didn't have a challenge or an overrule. And on center court the players don't want that.
Right.
So they're going with what they truly think is their call.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I guess it just harkens back to we should all play like we play on center court all the time.
Yeah.
The only unfortunate thing is you just don't have that video replay. Mm-hmm. But even with video, it's still not necessarily conclusive. So, really good stuff. Thanks for joining us in Divine Pod number 9. What do we have coming up for number 10?
I'm really excited for pod number 10 because I am off pickleball for the next 3 weeks until the PPA San Clemente, and right after that, the MLP San Clemente events, which means it is all things recovery. I want to talk about my 10 favorite recovery products in next week's episode. I literally cannot wait for this. I've been doing a ton of research, trying all sorts of cool new products, and I want to share with you my journey in the next 3 weeks as I strengthen my body, I work on my body, and I take this time off in between tournaments to come back even stronger and better. I think this is something that we can all learn from, no matter what our skill is.
Absolutely. All right, I have a challenge for you.
I'm ready.
Cryo.
Okay.
We're going to find a cryo tank.
Okay.
And we're going to freeze you up.
I am testing all the weird shit so that you don't have to. I will come back to you with the best stuff on the market for recovery and performance enhancement.
I cannot wait for this. There may be video. All right. See ya, PB Lifers.
See ya, PB Lifers.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.